Well, Dionne, the cameras were waiting for new Bears president Kevin Warren before sunrise, before 6 a.m., before the doors, I think, were even unlocked at Halas Hall on Monday. Kevin Warren, the new president and CEO of the Chicago Bears, had his first official full day on the job at 1920 Football Drive on Monday. We got to see the video of his arrival to work, his stop at the George Halas statue at the front door. Here we go. The Kevin Warren era is on its way.
All right, seriously, Dan, what are we doing? Like, seriously, like the dramatic pause in front of the statue. And everyone wonders, like, did he plan that out? Well, the cameras were there, so he was clearly playing up to the camera. It just made me smile. It made me smile because we are blessed to live in a city that the fan base cares about stuff like that, right? Like they want that inside look. They want to see that their team is working towards what they want. And Kevin Warren is all about that. He is all about that. He's connected. He knows everybody in this league. He is going to be a valuable and vital part of this next step for the franchise. So it's exciting that he finally gets there. As I watched it, I had to laugh. I was just like, and 5:45, I'm like halfway through my workout by then, dude.
I mean, our good friend Rich Campbell and I used to talk about the inanity of the hype video and how much more prevalent they are nowadays. But I did think this was a good entry point into us kind of discussing big picture Bears topics and figuring out what Kevin Warren is actually walking into at Halas Hall. He's obviously inheriting a team that went 3-14 and finished the season on a franchise worst 10-game losing streak. There's a lot to clean up. There's a stadium issue that needs to be resolved and advanced and everything else out in Arlington Heights. What are your thoughts just initially about what Kevin's walking into? And then I'll give you some of my thoughts on how he can be sort of influential and instrumental in pushing this thing in the direction it needs to go.
I just wonder the first thing I wonder is what he observed on that first day, right? Because he's had this job, obviously, for several months, but it became really real on Monday when he showed up there and what he's observing around the building. Because I believe he's the kind of guy that thinks about that thing operates and how it all comes together and how it all impacts the ultimate goal. Because he said in his introductory press conference that he wants to talk to everybody in the building. So I wonder just how he's observing the mechanics of what goes on at Halas Hall and how he fits into that and how he can take it up a notch. And also, since he became the president and then they closed on that land, like now what's next? Do we get a timeline on when they start putting the shovels in the ground and we start moving forward on it?
Well, okay, so there's a few things here, and it's easy to kind of, I guess, put a Cliff's Notes version into what Kevin Warren can do for this building. And here's kind of how I've described it. And I had somebody else kind of add a bullet point onto my list of things. But I've said that, the team president, particularly a guy like Kevin Warren, will come in and he can help you improve your amenities. That's for every single person in the building, players, coaches, support staff, secretaries, everybody, amenities, right? And they already got a lot of great amenities in that new facility up at Halas Hall. But one of the reasons that Kevin wants to do interviews with every single employee in that building is to try to figure out, what can I do? What can I provide you? Maybe some things are easy. Maybe some things are more difficult, but what can I provide you to help you do your job better? So those amenities are a key part of this. The second thing is people. Kevin Warren is fueled by type A, big thinking, ambitious people that want to go along for a ride that is going to end on the mountaintop.
Yes.
Right? If you don't want to be on that ride, he's fine with that. Just step aside and let other people who do want to be on that ride go. And so I'm really interested to see how he kind of changes the building in that regard in terms of finding the cogs in the machine that work in the direction that they need to work, that push a little bit harder, that get productivity and output at advanced levels, because we all know that the output and productivity of this franchise has been disappointing for a quarter century. And then the third thing, and this is what I thought was interesting, because somebody described it to me as Kevin will provide energized direction.
Yes.
And you and I can sit here, like you said that word immediately. Yes, because that's what that building needs badly, that it has lacked energy and it has lacked direction. And so that big picture energized direction, I think, like some people think it's mumbo jumbo and it's like self-help book 101. This is real stuff, in my opinion, that Kevin Warren can inject into this building that has an opportunity to get this thing humming at a level where you can at least start realistically dreaming of being in the championship hunt year after year after year. And there's a lot that goes into that.
And they need energized direction. I love that phrase. I wrote it down because I'm going to remember that, because I think we will palpably feel it inside Halas Hall. I think you will feel that it is different around there. I really do. And even when Ryan Poles was hired, I felt that had a little more energy to it. I know when Matt Eberflus was first introduced, and every time we've spoken to him, he has felt very monotone, very like
Right.
soft spoken is the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it just was very, okay, he's a nice guy. We'll see what happens. I think that changed towards the end of the year. He got more comfortable, but they need that kind of energy from their leader and from someone who understands what it takes to actually accomplish the things on the to-do list. And it has felt like that hasn't been there for a very long time. It'd be like, well, we want all these things, but there was no direction. There was no, this is how it's going to happen.
Right.
And just the fact that
follow through, all those things.
Yeah,
right?
follow through. Exactly. And just the fact that Kevin Warren got here and within what felt like minutes, they closed on the land. Like, let's take the next step. Let's get going here. And they need that kind of non-hesitant director in charge of that building and the franchise.
So, we talked to Kevin Warren in Arizona at the owners' meetings about a number of topics. Obviously, the stadium is going to be the thing that's on the front burner for him in the early parts of this. And he said, basically, you look around the NFL, these new stadiums, when you get the shovel in the ground, it takes about 3 years from there to get it open. So now you got to figure out what's the path from, as you asked earlier, from now until getting the shovel in the ground. And there's a lot of, financial hurdles, financing questions, tax things, local government, city government, state government stuff. Those questions all need to be answered. But one of the reasons Kevin Warren is in this position is because he has the push to accelerate those things, to create the relationships, to create the connections, to try to make those things happen faster. So that will obviously be the first thing on his plate. The second thing on his plate, though, which I think is most important to our audience, is that he's going to be overseeing and evaluating Ryan Poles as the general manager. And part of that isn't only giving Ryan his report card, it's being the developer of Ryan Poles, being the guy that on big picture issues gives you questions to consider, that serves as a sounding board, that allows you to have this productive and energizing back and forth that helps you do your job better. And I thought it was really notable to hear from Ryan in Arizona and saying, like, I'm a person that thrives on feedback. Well, now you have a team president that can give you feedback that is probably more comprehensive, more sophisticated, more energized than you were getting previously from Ted Phillips and George McCaskey. And so you've got a little bit of oomph in the vehicle now to push you forward. There's no understating the value of that as the Bears try to build this roster up into something that can compete.
Yeah, no, he was not getting any sort of development from Ted Phillips and George McCaskey because they're not the football guys. They were letting them be the football. Well, now you have a football guy in that role. Kevin Warren knows everybody in this league, right? Jeff Joniak told me that when he was walking around with him at the owners' meetings, it was like he was the mayor. It was like, hey, how are you? Like, he knew everyone. Right. And that says a lot about who the Bears have now in their building, helping to direct where this team goes. There's a reason to be excited about his arrival. I don't know if we needed to film it at 5:45 a.m., but
we film everything.
The hype video that we'll keep playing.
Couple last points from me on this topic, because people will say to me, like, look, like, you win championships by getting good players, and good players need to play well, and then you win championships. Well, I always kind of push back and say, let me just give you 3 examples of things during my time on the beat recently that good direction and good leadership and good oversight would help. Number 1, the QB draft of 2017, a general manager basically going rogue behind the backs of his coaching staff and not having guardrails in place to say, hold on a second, maybe we should do this process a little different. Maybe you guys should be collaborating more. Maybe we should be having every quarterback in our building for an entire day to learn more about them. Those guardrails weren't there. What happened? They drafted Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes, and now let's take a look at the direction of those 2 franchises. Okay, big picture thing that may have been remedied with better leadership. Number 2, we come out of the 2020 season, and the entire world knows that the Bears are going in one direction. It's off the road. The rails are off, and they're going this way. And George McCaskey and Ted Phillips convinced themselves that it's the smart thing to do to stick out another year with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, because they believed in the collaboration. They believed in the hope. They believed in the communication, and they gave them the trust to go out and draft a franchise quarterback. And then they fired them a year later. Right. And so you have another instance where you're saying, well, my God, like, if somebody is looking at this with a big picture lens, they're going to make sure something like that doesn't happen. The third thing I would say is the Bears have gone backwards here the last 3 years. Yep. They went out and drafted a quarterback first. Then they went out and changed regimes and got a new head coach and a new general manager. Then they went out and hired the new team president. Those are 3 steps that every organization needs to take. Well, the Bears did them in kind of the reverse order of what makes sense. So you think those types of things will be solved. And so I just think that there is going to be an organizational competence and a vision and a direction that's there. The last thing I'll share with you is George McCaskey at the owners' meetings was asked if he had any reluctance in handing over the general manager oversight to Kevin Warren. And he just said, matter of factly, Kevin's asking Ryan a lot better questions than I ever was. And the whole, like, it was like one of those moments where you go, yes, this is what we've been saying, right? Like, and so this is hopefully provides a little bit of that energy, the communication, and again, that energized direction that place needs.
I like that Poles and Kevin Warren have a friendship, have a good relationship so far. I'm interested to see how hands-on or off he is. But you're right, like just the fact that there's a sounding board there. There's something there for Poles to say, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. And what do you think about that? And how do you think this would impact everything else? The other thing I believe Warren will be doing is probably asking questions inside that building, being like, now, why are we doing it this way? Because when you've had the same people in charge for so long, you do it that way because that's what we've always done. Yeah. Well, it's not gotten you where you want to go. So I feel like he's going to ask those same pointed questions to everybody in that building. Be like, now, why are we doing it this way? There's a better way. Let's try it this way. He's going to be more open to those sorts of operational things that I think will go a long way in the building and beyond.
When I sat down with Kevin in Arizona, and one of the things I said is, look, like you're one person. You're not going to be able to do all the things in that building that need to get done. So how do you possibly have the impact you want to have? And he said it's about finding the right people and empowering those people to do their job to the highest level. And so now that's in the early stages. We're at day 3, day 4 here, I guess, that he's been on the job there. He's doing those interviews. I don't know if you are as now the proclaimed host again of the Bears pregame show. Maybe you'll get one of those 10-minute interviews. Maybe you can share some of our thoughts in a sit down with Kevin Warren and help him understand some of the things that need to get done.
Okay, I highly doubt that I will have access to him in any capacity. However, I think I'd be honored if he was like, hey, as a media folk, what are we doing wrong? Well, sir, Mr. Warren, where shall I begin?
If you need my help, I'll get out the binders that I have stored in this cabinet. I'll give them to you. You can drive them up there and you can share my thoughts.
I have this handy little notes app where I've been writing things down for 12 years, sir. Where should we begin? I'm just kidding.
Well, like Ryan Poles, we thrive off feedback also. So
leave
your comments here below this video, like, subscribe, tell everybody to come watch us, and we'll keep bringing you the content. That's Dionne. I'm Dan. The Bears are on the fast track to somewhere. We'll see where it leads.
Bye, guys.